Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Fawn Pod, the Fawn Cast. It's friends occasionally not disagreeing. I'm here with Brett this week, and we are talking about a TV show which just came out a year ago. But that's about how fast I watch TV shows. So we'll talk more about that here in a minute. Let's check in with our host. Brett, what have you been up to recently?
Oh, well, I have been actually one thing I've been doing lately is I've started doing getting some games on my phone that like like rather than just your typical kind of mobile games, I've been like going out and finding games like established console and PC games, which also are like low enough, like performance wise that they work on phones. Like I got Minecraft. I've been playing Minecraft on my phone. It's been pretty fun. Because I can
Oh,
actually, what's crazy is I can actually play it with my kids because it networks. And so I can actually play on my phone and play with them while they're on the PC and the PS4. So that's actually pretty fun. I also started playing Stardew Valley the other day.
wow.
Uh,
Okay.
just because I that we were talking about that, the possibility that they might make that somehow make the Stardew Valley story into a movie. I don't even know how you would do that.
Yeah.
But and I was like, this is like one of those kind of pretty classic games. People, it's really rated pretty highly. And I was like, well, I can get my phone. I might as well try it. And it's been fun. It's basically Harvest Moon
Yeah,
with
exactly. Right.
some more like a more developed story behind it. But yeah, I've been enjoying that. Uh, we also we watched last I guess it's over the last 2 weeks or so. We watched Midnight Mass on Netflix
Oh, yes.
and really enjoyed that. It was really good. Um, we had well, we had started watching that because of uh, it was made by the same guy who made oh, poop on a stick. It was just on my head.
Follow the House of
Flew
Usher.
out. Yes, Fall of the House. Yeah, sure. That's what it was. We watched that a few weeks ago and really, really enjoyed that. So we started kind of binging more of his stuff. But yeah, it's been really good. And the only thing we watched just this weekend was we watched Barbie. And so this is how it went. My wife cried
Oh, no.
and I also cried, but for a completely different reason. No, I'm partly kidding on that. But
She didn't
uh
cry.
exactly, yes, she was the one that didn't cry. Uh no, it was better than I expected. It was uh, very like socially, there's this big social message behind it,
Hmm.
which I fully support, but it also felt like very heavy-handed
Okay.
at the same time. Like it was like just cramming it right in your face the entire time.
Hmm.
um but they had some funny parts, and it was like the latter half of the movie was actually quite emotional, I guess is the proper word for it.
Okay.
It was pretty good at the end. So yeah, that's what I've been up to.
I've heard decent things. You said you got something big coming up here in a couple days.
Yes, we are going back on vacation again. Getting getting some more use of our yearly passes that we got for Universal Studios in Orlando. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that quite a bit. Get out of this. The weather here is starting to turn cold, so we're
Yeah.
immediately heading down south.
Nice.
So
Nice. Nice. Well, let's see. Couple things for me here, I guess. Halloween obviously has come and gone, so the big Halloween party this year was Expedition Adventure. That was quite a bit of fun. We had some people unfortunately have to cancel kind of last day or two because of some sicknesses, so we lost some
mm,
people, but pretty much everybody else I invited did show up. As far as like even the ones I thought maybe they might show up, most of them did show up. So we still had probably 15, 16 people here.
oh
And
yeah, that's a nice group.
yeah, it was fun. A lot of good variety of the games. Everybody seemed to enjoy everything. The Opium Den was a big hit in the garage with the smoke machine and the music, and The racing game I had in the basement was like Hot Wheel cars and around the track. You had to race around and push a ball from one side
I
to the other
saw that
side.
video. That looked like a really cool little game. Yeah.
That was pretty fun. It was maybe a little too late into the evening. Everybody had maybe a few too many, but it was a good weekend overall. And then otherwise, what else was I gonna say here? I thought they had a couple more things I was gonna mention here. So it's gonna drop on Tuesday instead of Monday, but on Thursday this week. So 3 days from when we're recording this, we are going to Chicago to go see a musical, which we've been doing once or twice a year now as a family. We're going to see Beetlejuice, the musical,
Ooh,
which
okay.
my daughter's been a big fan of, so she knows all the songs and stuff on this one. Again, it's kind of similar to the movie, but it has a
Okay.
little
That's
bit
what I was going
different
to ask.
plot as well, I guess. Um, Seems weird to be saying like they camped it up more for the musical since the movie was already the
It
way it
was already pretty
was,
crappy.
but
Yeah.
yeah. But it was pretty good, or I'm sure it will be pretty good. I've heard a few of the songs from it so far that they've played in the car, but
Mm.
looking forward to that as
Yeah. That sounds
well.
cool.
And then last thing here, I just want to plead with the listeners. I was just searching and can't seem to find a YouTube compilation of just the Lanfear scenes of Wheel of Time. So if anybody has
No
that
one's
out
gotten on
there,
that yet.
just not that I can see, could be
Slackers.
behind a paywall. I'm not sure, but
That's on
um,
OnlyFans.
yeah, just get back to me on that if you find anything out there. So, all right. Well, we have kind of an extended Spooktober for you today, in a way, which is we're tackling something that is kind of creepy. It's a TV show, and as we were talked about before we got on the air here, this is a show that Brett mostly watched a year ago when it came out,
A full year ago, yes.
and I probably put it on my list a full year ago, which means that I got to it in the last several weeks here. So this is Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities on Netflix, which, as we both came to find out, is actually 8 episodes, not 6. So there's that. But you knew there was more episodes, yeah?
Yeah, yeah. So the way it came about for us, I don't remember exactly the details, but we watched the first 6 episodes, and then I'm guessing something else came on that we were more interested in, and so we jumped off and started watching that, and then just never came back to the final 2 episodes.
Hmm.
But I don't remember what that thing was. So
Okay. Yeah, and as I mentioned to you off the air as well here, I thought I looked and there were 6 of these, and so I had been through 5, and I invited my wife to join me for the 6th episode, which P.S. worked out pretty well considering who's in that episode, which I didn't even realize at the time I told her to watch it with me. And then episode was over and it started playing episode 7 right afterwards, and I was like, wait, what? And just one of the weird things that happened with episode 7, apparently, as it turns out. So we'll get to all that. But all right, so let's just talk shop on this today. This is a year old as Brett watched it, so I'm not too concerned about spoilers today. But if it is a show you don't want to hear about per se, definitely go watch those before you listen to all of our thoughts here on these today, because there will be some spoilers in here. This is a horror anthology TV show, which is something I was excited about. That's why I originally put it on my list. And Brett, I know you and your wife are big into like horror anthology, different types of scary anthology things as well.
Yeah, yeah, we do as well. We've watched most all seasons of American Horror Story, which is not the same as this per se, but an anthology kind of thing. So
Yeah. And then I don't know if it's strict horror, but I know you guys watch like Black Mirror also.
yeah, yeah, Black Mirror and
Is
Love,
that
Death and
considered
Robots,
horror? I
and
don't know if that is or not.
uh,
Or maybe just episodes. I've never watched it
yeah,
still.
I think yeah, it definitely skips around genres, and horror is one of those. So
Okay. So I guess we'll just mention here again, this came out in October of 22, not 23, but each episode is kind of prefaced by Guillermo del Toro himself as like a almost like homage to Hitchcock Presents or something in that vein, which I was reading here behind the scenes. Actually, his first book he published apparently was a Hitchcock biography, so he was very influenced by Alfred Hitchcock. And he basically has like this weird, I don't even know what you'd call it, like a pagoda or something of like some kind of little miniature building that he has, which is full of like trapdoors and things that he opens at the beginning of each
It's a
episode.
pretty cool setup.
Yeah, he pulls some kind of artifact out, and then something else opens on it, and blah blah blah. And then he kind of sets him on a pedestal and introduces the episode. Almost like a adult version of Are You Afraid of the Dark as well. I was just kind of thinking of that. Kind of
Oh
reminded me
yeah,
of
it
that a
has
little
a
bit.
similar vibe to the opening. Sure.
Yeah. So 8 episodes on this one, and I think we decided that we both rated these as we were going. Is that what you said you went back and did as well?
Yes.
All right, cool. And I ended up just throwing some numbers up on these once I finished up the last one here as well. I guess just general thoughts before we jump into that. I don't have a ton other than to say I really enjoyed one thing about this series, which was it seemed like each of the episodes had like more than one horror element to it. Like there was usually 2 or 3 different types of horror within each episode.
Would agree. Yep.
So that was kind of fun. And other than that, it was just kind of interesting. I didn't know anybody that was acting in any of these. So when somebody would pop up that I'd recognize, I was like, oh, look who it is. Holy cow.
Mhm.
So, all right. Well, anything you want to say before we jump into these?
Um, I guess just the fact that I, having watched this a year ago, I did go back and trying to skim through these and just kind of refresh my memory. But if I sound like I don't remember what I'm talking about, it's probably because I don't remember what I'm talking about.
Yes, to our listeners, I needed a layup podcast after all the Halloween rush, and I still missed the deadline by a day. So that's where. But all right, well, 8 episodes, as we said here, and they're all very different. We should point out as well, which we'll talk about these, but not only fun elements within the episodes, but the plot ideas are all very different from each other, also.
For sure.
All right, well, let's start off here. The first episode, you fire up this on your Netflix, you get episode 1, which is called Lot 36. And this is one of 2 episodes behind the scenes that was actually written as a short story by Guillermo del Toro himself. Episode 1 and episode 8, the last one, are both written by him originally. And this one, so I just took a couple brief notes on each podcast and then also kind of made a little bit of note on the type of horror. And then I also chose a capital DAMN exclamation point, a damn moment for each episode as well. So got those to look forward to tonight also. All right, so just in like a 2 or 3 sentence synopsis here, this one was about a character played by Tim Blake Nelson. So fun cameo to get us going here. And basically is a guy who's kind of a down on his luck a-hole.
He is an a-hole.
He is an a-hole. He's kind of one of the like Storage Wars type people who buys these storage units and hopes that they strike it rich with what they find inside. This particular one that he purchases, I believe, was owned by a lady, if I'm not mistaken, who missed her payment by like a smidge. And he refuses to sell it back to her, even though she comes up with the money afterwards. But this was a fun one because it had some different elements as mentioned in here with him going to explore this storage unit. And instantly I was kind of hooked on the idea of this the first episode here, because just the idea of like, when I watch those types of shows, I always do think it's really fun to just be like, what are they going to find in there? Because it really could be anything, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy. Just in real life, just everything that can be stuffed into these storage units.
No. I think I may have even shared a photo to the chat wiki a long time ago, but when I moved to Illinois, we had a lot of our stuff in a storage unit here, and we were there, like the kids and I were there one time getting something or putting something in, I don't remember, but they have like a communal dumpster inside that you can throw trash in, but you're not really supposed to put that much trash in. And we were there the one day, and it had like 15 cardboard boxes from like Kalashnikov rifles inside of the storage bin. And I was like, what's going on right now?
Don't make you ask some questions.
We were the only ones there, thank goodness, because we really wanted to have been there when they were opening those. But it's just fun to see like what could be there. So this one has some remnants of the occult inside. And he knows a couple buyers who he sells things to, who put him in touch with this more mysterious buyer of things of the occult. And they go basically to find some books that are inside the storage unit. They find three right away, but the fourth one apparently is the rare and valuable one. And it was like on bringing demons back to life or something along those lines.
Yeah, it was essentially like handbooks for like summoning a demon and like attaching it to a human.
Okay. Yeah. So this one had, I forgot about this too till just now, but this one was that had the really fun security footage of the guy who
Yeah.
previously would go into it, and he would do like this weird crazy hop dance and then knock in a certain way before he would open the door.
Yeah, very kind of reminiscent of the video of Elisa Lamb at
Yeah,
the elevator footage.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Which, thinking about this more, I'm not sure if that I did. I think it did play into the plot somehow, but I don't think it was as important as they originally made it sound like.
Yeah,
So
I think it was more just to set up like an atmosphere of weirdness because I don't necessarily at in the end I don't see how that really fit in so
yeah,
much, but
agreed. Well, as one might surmise, they do find something inside this storage unit in episode one, and you kind of, I felt like, could predict that what they were going to find essentially was a fake wall on the back, and that it was going to end up being bigger than they thought it was going to be. And they do
mhm.
drop a hint or two of that in the episode. Now that I think about it, too, of like, his is huge, this one's so small, type thing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like somehow, I don't know. I don't think it give you any kind of like sense of how this storage place is laid out, but somehow in
Hmm.
the back wall of the unit is like an entire cave system.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how that works out,
there's
but
definitely some questions there for sure.
yeah, whether it's like a dimensional portal or something, I don't know. But it was pretty cool when they opened up and you're like, oh wow,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Nasty smell and stuff. So yeah, this one's fun. So this is eventually what they're gonna find behind this is, I forget, was it the guy who was Hopping's sister, his wife? I don't remember. It was a
It
lady.
was yeah, the story was something about the guy who was kind of like the main occult guy essentially like somehow sacrificed his sister and like and trapped the demon within her,
Hmm.
and that way it was like safely kept away or something. I'm not even certain if that was the goal or not, but
Yeah, I don't know
uh
if he was trying to keep his sister alive, like through any means necessary, or yeah, you're right. I don't even know exactly
mm,
what the point is here. But anyway, they get to this demon that's like inside a protective circle, more or less, and uh Tim Blake Nelson, I believe's character breaks the circle
yep.
to like probably get the book or something, I'm sure.
A typical like antagonist movies there's like I don't believe in this crap, I'm just gonna
Right?
do exactly what this the person who is very knowledgeable and like warning me not to do it, I'm just gonna ignore that.
Yep. He needed to pay the money to the bookie or whoever he owed it to. So essentially, by breaking the circle, they unleash the demon, and it pretty much instantly kills like the occult priest or whatever he was, the other guy that was
Mm-hmm.
with him, and then
Yep.
starts to chase Tim Blake Nelson's character through the storage area. And that is my damn of the episode, actually, is the scene where that's played up really well with the lighting as well, which because they have all these. My storage unit was like this too. Like if nobody's active in the hallway, it got really dark, and
Mm-hmm.
then you had to turn the
Automatic
lights on.
lighting.
His was even weirder. Like you had to like turn a little generator or something to get the lights to stay on for a
Yeah, like they're on like timers, like you'd
few
have like in
seconds.
a sauna or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, good call, good call.
Yeah.
But so it's, and then we get this really fun pursuit through the area with like this demon basically like chasing Tim Blake Nelson through the storage arena, and it's pretty creepy. I mean, it's pretty tense watching him
Yeah,
get
yeah,
chased
for sure.
down, and he finally ends up at the door, of course, of the building, and of course he sees the lady outside that he did not help earlier in the episode, and she refuses to open the door, and he is destroyed. I don't know what to do with the demon afterwards, but that's neither here nor there.
That's right. It's probably just losing the world,
It's
killing
still
thousands of
there.
other people. But
Yeah, pretty much. Poor demon probably thought they like had the run of the place until they decided to look into the other storage units to see they had something even worse there. Oh my gosh. But that's basically episode one. This is called Lot 36. So what do you think of this one? What kind of rating system did you use on these?
Um, well, I kind of like based my ratings on a few factors like how scary was it, how good was the base story,
Yeah.
and then in the I had in also like just performances because some of them have really good performances and some of them are a little bit off. And then like this one in particular, I just really enjoyed it. So I gave it pretty good points just for just I just enjoyed the episode as a whole. Um I it was uh so like the first thing that I guess I'll say was like the main character, he's one of those characters that is very easy to hate. He's just a jerk to everyone, and he's always like trying to like scam people and just like he's doing everything he can to like screw people over. So in the end, when he gets, he's basically has this horrible thing happening. You're just like, cool, let's get him. You don't care that he's like getting mauled by this demon. Um, but I think it overall it sets a pretty good picture. It was like kind of a bit creepy and weird from the
Hmm.
start, and it does a good job of building up at the end and bringing some good horror to you then. Overall, my rating on this one is a 7.0.
7.0. Yeah, I probably rated mine in similar ways. We should point out also, because we didn't state this up front, the episode length on these is about an hour per episode, which is, it's an interesting time frame in which to tell a horror story because it's not a half hour show, which it could be. And it's also
Mm-hmm.
not a movie length episode for each one. So it's kind of like that weird middle ground. But it felt like most of these, I think, had a story that fit about that 1 hour mark. Like most of these, I didn't really want to see more on. Like I think they told their complete story within the hour. A couple of them maybe I would have liked to see maybe a little bit more. A couple of them probably the opposite. I'd probably like a little bit less would have been fine for me. But
Agreed. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
this
It's
one.
an
Oh, go ahead.
Well, just to kind of play off that, it is an interesting just way to look at it because I think it's in a lot of respects it's probably easier to tell a horror story if it's a bit shorter because you can just pack in a bunch of creepiness and scares and stuff and you don't
Mm,
necessarily have to like flesh out a story. Um, Whereas like a full-length movie, you have that extra time to tell story,
yeah,
and so you can actually put in a pretty good story if you choose to. A lot of horror movies don't necessarily put any story in anyways. But yeah, like an hour long is kind of like it must be like a bit of an odd middle ground to where you like you could try and tell a story and not have enough time,
yeah,
or you might have too much time and not know what to do with it. So
yeah. Definitely, I think that's the case. Um, I liked this one quite a bit, especially as like an intro to the series. It was one of the things I should say a lot of the episodes do as well is they really, with that 1 hour time frame, they do a really nice job of building up tension through that. Like some of these you can see pretty early on what the part is that you're going to be like, oh, waiting for like the shoe to drop on, but like they introduce it and then repeat it a few times within that hour before it gets to that moment.
mm.
But this one was good. I really enjoyed this. Like I said, my damn moment here of the holy cow that just happened type thing was just when he's chased through the thing. And you're right. I mean, it's very minimal character development in this, but it's enough to get us to sympathize with the lady and hate this guy. And you know, I don't know if
Mm.
he basically was needed to be killed by a demon, but it's
Probably didn't deserve that.
yeah, it seemed a little far for what he was. But anyway, but this one's really good too. I enjoyed this one quite a bit. A lot of good horror here and tension as well. So I gave this one an 8 out of 10 for episode one. So pretty good overall out of the gate. Okay, episode 2, moving on here, is called Graveyard Rats. Episode 1, P.S. I just talking about blending the horror elements. I put witchcraft, unknown exploration, darkness versus light effects, and demons. Episode 2, I put animal terror and claustrophobia as the main things here. So
That
this
is
is
accurate.
about a grave robber. Well, several grave robbers, which we'll talk about in a bit
That's
here,
true.
but apparently it was the graveyardy time of the human history here, which we should also mention these take place over a pretty wide range of time periods as well, which also is pretty
Yeah,
cool about
that's true.
these. Very modern show, but definitely set in the past for almost all these.
Hmm.
So this one is mentioned here is basically about a grave robber who is digging up a grave because there is some jewels in that particular grave site. And lo and behold, when he gets it open, he finds out that there is a ton of rats, which the same rats apparently have also been removing valuables that other corpses have had on them, and he's been trying to steal. And as he goes to basically rob from this guy, the rats have already dug the bottom of the coffin open and dragged the body underground, which was
Just nobody in the coffin. Yeah.
pretty humorous, to be quite honest. So,
It actually was. Yeah.
yeah. And then essentially he crawls in after them down through the hole and he gets into these very large tunnels that are made by one particular large rat and continues to fall through holes to lower and lower levels to the point where he finds like basically tunnels full of riches, gold and jewels and
Yeah.
stuff.
It really is like a treasure room.
And steals a talisman, it says here, from a corpse that then chases after him as well. And he's basically trying to run away as he goes through. He causes a cave in that causes the queen rat to be killed and also traps the thing that was chasing him. And is the ending of this very shortly here is he goes to what he thinks is the moon as he's clawing his way upward.
Right. He sees a light at the end of the tunnel, essentially.
Yeah. And he thinks it's the moon, but surprise, wait for it. Damn, it is actually just the bottom of like a grave marker. So he is stuck
He
where he's
climbed into
at.
a coffin.
Yeah,
And was stuck in a coffin.
it's pretty cool. A little bit of good irony there for him.
Yep.
So, let's see. Anything you have to say on this second one here?
Uh this one was it was one thing that you kind of touched on there was the comedic aspect of it. And there really was several moments in this episode where um even like in the middle of this really kind of creepy and nasty stuff that you're seeing around him, there are some really humorous moments, including like that one you mentioned where he opens up a coffin lid and like watches as a body basically like slides out the end of the coffin because the rats are dragging it away at that moment. um yeah, that was actually pretty comical. But yeah, the performance of this guy, I don't actually know his name off the top of my head, but I think he does an awesome job in this. He's very um it's another story where you've got like this really shitty person just
Yeah,
and then ends up getting what they deserve basically. But in this case where like the first guy was a shitty person that you kind of hate, is like you actually kind of like this guy a bit because it's just his personality is just like that.
yeah,
But yeah, this one is really it stood out a lot for me because I also do not do well in tight spaces. Like I am definitely have some claustrophobic issues. So there were lots of parts of this episode that were just hard for me to watch. I was
interesting.
like,
Okay,
oh, I was just like, I'm just gonna turn away for a little bit, just do something else. But even yeah, like the just all the rats and everything, they're all really creepy too.
yep,
Um, and and this guy is so greedy that he's willing to just crawl down into this tunnel system without any like how was he expecting to get back out? I don't know.
yeah.
But Yeah, just his greed for needing these things. And I think was this another one where he like owed somebody money, I think, as well. Like the
Might have
first one
been.
that guy was like in debt, and this guy I think was also in
Yeah.
debt. But yeah, and then like and near the end there, there's like that living dead situation where he takes that necklace off the body and it comes to life. And that was really unexpected because not only you have these rats crawling around there, you also have the living dead chasing
Yeah.
him around,
That's a good
which
call.
was kind of an unexpected moment there. But um yeah, the very last scene of this episode where he crawls up into the coffin and then is basically trapped, and then the rats come in and get
They
him.
catch up to him. Yeah.
And then later they some other robbers open the coffin, and like the rats come like crawling out of his mouth. That was just awful.
Yeah. It's pretty gross.
Oh, I shivered. No.
Yeah. That's a good point too, because I don't have like a fear of claustrophobia. So that part didn't really bother me in this one. But I guess if you did, this would probably be a pretty terrible episode for you.
Mm, yeah.
Interesting.
Um, Overall, I really enjoy this one. I'm gonna give it an 8.5 on it.
Oh, okay. Okay. The
Despite despite like hating the claustrophobic aspect.
I
It
mean, maybe
it
that's
I guess
what drove it
in
up.
that, yeah, you can look at it that way. Like it gets into an emotional reaction, which is what you want from a show like I said anyway. So
Okay,
yeah.
so let's see. So for this one for me, you're right in that it's more comical, which I guess I didn't stop to think about that, but it does have almost like a Army of Darkness or something with the Deadites, like with the thing
Yeah.
chasing him and stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
it's scary, but it's also kind of comically scary at the same time. Um, yeah, this one I enjoyed, but I didn't enjoy it as much as some of the other ones here. So I gave this only a 6 out of 10 on my
Oh,
end.
okay.
So that's what did you give this one?
8.5.
14 and a half, and we had 15 on the first one. Okay, so we're pretty close on these so far. Curious if one really stood out or not. We'll have to see. Um, I don't know if that episode actually was shorter or not, but it felt like a simpler plot than some of the other ones that are involved with some of the
I don't know.
episodes here. I don't have the run times in front of me.
Mm.
Let's head over to episode 3. And holy crap, episode 3. This one's called The Autopsy. Was really intrigued by this one based on its name and also as the actual episode was playing, because for quite a while it's not really clear what direction they're taking the horror in this one. So essentially, this one had a mining incident, I believe. There was a miner who kind of went crazy and like ran into the mine while carrying some kind of weird object, and essentially like the object exploded, if I remember correctly, like in the
Mm-hmm.
mine. And they take this guy's body to perform an autopsy for this the sheriff's friend, Dr. Carl Winters, it says here. Not that you need to know that, but and he's doing like autopsies on some of the miners, and like we get some hints that there's something off about the guy who ran into the mine, but it's not really clear what it is at first. If it's going to be like a zombie plot or like a contagion plot or something else, but turns out that he comes back to life and has an alien parasite inside of him, which
Oh
was
boy, he does.
not one of my first guesses with that. So, um, in we go with this one. So this is a parasite that particular species has no sensory organs. And so they live off a host kind of inside of them, and they use their senses, their host senses to try to maneuver about the world, I guess,
Mm.
while it eats on them from the inside. So, let's see here. And eventually in this one, we get the alien out of out of the miner, whose name is Joe Allen, and into, I don't forget how he incapacitates the doctor. somehow he had like the body on one table and next to it he had the doctor on the other one, but I can't remember
Yeah,
how.
I don't think they really I this was one I did skim through again, and
Mhm.
uh I don't think he doesn't really they don't really show like it just like he lunges at him, so probably like knocks him unconscious or something, or
Okay.
just yeah,
Pretty
wrestles him down or something.
gross little alien type thing we're looking at here. And the doctor has cancer, which is interesting because in this particular episode, like the alien basically is gonna eat his cancer, and the cancer is gonna grow, and then it's gonna be like this self-perpetuating food source in a way, which is kind of super gross.
Mm. Yeah.
Super, super gross. Um, let's see here. And basically, as it's working its way out of the miner's body and into the doctor's body, this is my damn moment of this episode. As the doctor takes a scalpel, I don't even know how this would be humanly possible, but it looks damn cool on screen. He basically takes the scalpel, and like, if I recall, first I think he like, oh, it says he does his eyes first, which I thought was the other way around, but he
I
pokes.
think it's his ears. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the ears first.
Okay,
Yeah.
basically punctures both of his eardrums and then pops both of his eyeballs so that he can no longer hear and no longer see. And then as the alien goes inside of him while this is all happening, and there's like this gross kind of like semi-blurred alien in the background moving from one body to the other body.
Like crawling through a cut in his abdomen.
Oh, it's so gross. It's so gross. And then he like basically carves a message on his chest, if I recall, to the sheriff to later find, and then slices his throat at the end after
Mm-hmm.
he somehow takes all of this away from himself. But then it's really cool. Actually, I thought this one was really cool in that, like, then we get like the internal dialogue of like the alien talking to the doctor.
Right.
I was like, that's really novel. I don't know if I've seen that before. Basically telling the alien that he's now stuck inside a senseless body that's gonna die and later be burned by the sheriff. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a pretty cool twist and all of that.
Yeah, it there really is through the latter quarter or so of this episode, it really is it's like a this mental chess game between the two in a
Yeah.
way, which I really enjoyed that bit of it. And yeah, essentially the doctor checkmates him there at the end. So
Yeah. This one stars F. Murray Abraham as the doctor. And when I saw his name, I was like, I was, for some reason, I know it's probably not the role he's the most excited about in his career, but he always makes me think of the movie 13 Ghosts, where he was like the uncle who tried to lure Tony Shalhoub into the house with the invisible walls, with all the
right.
ghosts. But I was like, how old is this guy? And like, I just pulled him up here. He is 84 years old as of a couple weeks ago. So
Wow.
he was probably 82, 83 when he filmed this role. And I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't a non-moving role that he had. I mean, he was pretty active in what he did. So
Didn't seem in his 80s.
yeah, no, kudos to him. So um let's see, anything else on this one?
Um, yeah, it was so like just a couple things I wrote down this, and it's really so like the first half of the episode is just kind of lead up with like this mysterious event that happened, and but once you get into the doctor doing these autopsies, it like really starts to get like intense pretty quickly, because he's just alone in this dark-ish warehouse
Yeah.
doing autopsies where they show everything. Basically, it's not like you're seeing things up like above the body, just like what the seeing the doctor. You're like seeing him cutting things open and like pulling organs out,
Right.
and it's pretty visceral, I guess is the word. Although it's not really uh I don't know, it at some points it just looks like a the organs just like look like a rubber prop.
Yeah.
Because I think if I remember right, there was like a thing where the alien was like sucking the blood out of them or something. So that's why, like, all
There
the
might
bodies
have
are
been
kind of like
something like
we're
that.
kind of like dry inside. I think.
Yeah, it's not when I say it's not really gory, it's more just like I have a hard this one I have a hard time with because I can't stand to watch like a medical surgeon show. Like that
Mm-hmm.
would make me really queasy. So like
Yeah,
even
that's
seeing
very
him
much what
like
this is.
slice open the skin and like pull anything out of it, I'm like, "Ugh."
Yeah. And yeah, like, that scene where the alien is attempting to implant himself into the doctor as
Oh
the
my
new
gosh.
host. And so the alien is in his old current body and is essentially disemboweling it as he is talking to the doctor. Um it's such a it's a really creepy but cool, just kind of like it's just talking so calmly and plainly
Yeah.
about things while you're just pulling your insides out. Oh, it was yeah, like kind of queasy, hard to watch.
Yeah. Um I'll score first on this one, but I really enjoyed this one. It really made me uneasy to even just before the aliens even revealed, just even with the doctor like sitting there with all of the bodies and the makeshift autopsy warehouse trying to figure out what's going on. And like I said, like even trying to like identify which type of horror this was going to be
Mm,
and not having that be clear at the beginning was really interesting to me. Um I think this is also one of I mean it's not really fair to say the good side beat the evil side here. Presumably the sheriff will see the message and burn the body and the parasite's going to lose in this one. But it felt like the protagonist did what they needed to do to actually defeat the threat, which I don't think happens
mm,
a lot in horror straight up. Presumably, and then maybe we'd see, of course, like an after credit scene or something of like the parasite coming out of like the fire or something. But
yeah,
I really liked this one, so I give this 8.5 out of 10.
nice. Uh, yeah, I would probably and I mentioned this beforehand when we were we're starting to watch this, but I think this is my I would say this is my favorite episode of this series of the season.
Ooh,
Um, and yeah, I even just like the like my the moment near the end there where he punctures his own eardrums and then stabs out his own eyeballs. I that was one scene I just here about an hour ago. I was just kind of skipping through it and watch that, and again, it just made me like I completely just full body shivered. I was like, "Oh God, no!" That was just so hard to watch. But yeah, I'm gonna give this an 8.5 as well.
8.5. All right, so 17. So that's our top one here. Yeah, I was just thinking, like in horror, you do see like a screwdriver to somebody's ear or something, and like eyes always have something that happens to them in horror. But I don't. I'm trying to think if I've
Mhm.
seen anything else where like somebody voluntarily like punctures their own eardrum. Like,
Yeah, somehow it makes it
God,
worse.
it really does. Oh,
Yeah,
it's gross. Okay, we'll head on to episode 4. A totally different type of episode here in episode
very
4.
much.
This is called The Outside. Had no idea what this was going to be about based on the title, but getting into this, we find out that this is more or less a different type of horror here, which is what exactly we want to label this: beauty standards or self-confidence or consumerism, or we could take this a few different ways.
Yeah, I'm not I'm not sure what you would. It's definitely not like a well, it would be like yeah, just like a an unease. That's not really a category, but the
Yeah.
nature of it is just it's just very makes you uneasy
Yeah.
throughout.
So, quick summary of this one: we have a lady. Apparently, her name is Stacy, which I forgot here, but she is not as what do we want to say here? She doesn't believe that she is a beautiful person because she doesn't look like the people that she works with. Despite the fact that I did like she had a like supportive husband who did see her as beautiful back home.
Hmm.
That was nice, but basically, she wants to be like all the other gossipy, chatty Cathys or whatever at the. I don't know if they work at a bank or
I think
something.
they
It
work at a
seemed
bank.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. And she gets invited to the Christmas party, and she had taken all the time to make a nice taxidermy bird that she gave to the
She
host,
sure did.
which apparently did not go over well. But she gets a skin product called Aloe Glow, Aloe Glow, Aloe Glow, and basically tries it when she gets home, and it gives her a rash. She probably has sensitive skin as well. And that should be the end of it because it just didn't seem to work. But then the TV show starts to go off the rails a little bit at that point.
Mhm.
We start to get infomercials playing in the middle of the night, and the host of the infomercial show is like talking to her directly through the infomercials that she's listening to, and even answering her, I think, later in the episode while she's talking
Yeah,
back
yeah,
to
he does.
him. It's kind of just creepy, and so she basically buys like this huge crate of aloe glow, which they said was some absurd price per bottle. I forget. So based on where they lived and what their jobs were, it seemed like that was like their
Like,
life savings.
yeah, basically her life
This
savings
one
spent on like
crate.
this lotion.
Um, and still didn't really know exactly where this was going to go at this point. It kind of seemed like she was going to continue to use the lotion, and then something was going to happen. Did not probably have it pegged as the lotion squeezing itself from the bottles and turning into some sort of humanoid type shape
Yeah, like some sort of golem.
that she then kisses and oh, a
Uh,
little unclear what exactly is happening
there was
here.
something going on there.
But the lotion fills the bathtub and she enjoyed her bath. Let's just leave it at that, I guess. Um, and then after her husband, who has not been supportive of her trying more aloe glow, we get our damn moment of this episode, which is when she just fucking straight up axes this dude, her husband.
Literally.
Yeah. Oh my God. When she like swung that, I was like, what the hell just happened? Oh, it
Yeah,
didn't.
it is a very like quick turning. Like the episode goes from like one thing to something else very quickly, and it's like, oh my god.
Yeah. Um, let's see. Essentially, her old skin falls off and she does get a clearer skin, I guess. That comes out of all this.
Yeah.
And then we get the callback to the beginning of the episode finally, which is when she then taxidermies her husband and puts him in front of like a TV tray by the
Oh
TV, eating a
god.
TV dinner.
Oh
And suddenly she's the hit of the workplace when she goes back to there. So it's that's the episode. Um, yep, I don't have a lot more to say about this. And this one kind of made me sad more than anything else. I mean, just to like,
the poor husband.
yeah, I mean, it felt
He's just trying to be the best husband he can. He ends up taxidermied.
felt bad for him. I felt bad for like the I don't know. I know this is like a critique as a message, but it still was like the message of like now she's in a happier place because she changed who she was to be like a shallow, low life gossiper at work.
That's yeah, that's true. That's the the ending basically.
It was kind of bizarre all around. So um I gave this one a 7 out of 10, mostly because I didn't know what the heck I was watching and also didn't know where it was going to go. Um, felt like it could have went a few different places with the title and with the way it was shaping up, but
Mm.
still kind of creepy in its own way. But I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, it was definitely very like disturbing and weird throughout. That actress, I don't know her name, but does a really great job of just being like this really kooky character. It was just like just awkward and yeah, it you spend most of the episode and this is one thing we could I'll talk more about the end, but uh it's a slow building episode for sure. You know, like it
Yes.
you spend probably well, I guess that's not necessarily true, but it feels like you spend a long time where you have no idea what's going on. Like it feels like very little happens, and then you have like a big payoff at the end. Um, but yeah, it definitely was a different vibe to it. Um, Overall, I enjoyed it. It wasn't one of my favorites though. This is a 6.5 for me.
6.5. Okay. So 13 and a half. So it's probably like bottom tier so far, which is kind of what it felt like to me. I mean, overall, but
Mm.
All right, let's get to the back half of this. We got 4 to go. We pick up episode 5. Now, this was one that I was definitely intrigued by the title of. So, episode 5 is called Pickman's Model, which purely based on the title, I mean, that could have went a lot of different directions. I didn't know what they were exactly talking about here. This one is one of 2 that is based on a short story by H.P. Lovecraft, apparently, also.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And I guess if we're calling a horror element here, we have kind of strange entities and some black magic, perhaps, and some paintings, which are kind of used in horror sometimes. But in essence, this one stars Ben Barnes, who I believe was in I think he was in one of the Netflix Marvel shows, wasn't he? Check it out here. Yeah, he was in The Punisher. That's right. He was the bad guy in The Punisher.
Okay.
If you guys watch Punisher?
I haven't actually.
Oh my God, it's so good. Don't watch it in front of the kids, but it's so good. I don't know. I don't know if Disney has tempered it down a little bit or not since it's moved over there, but it's like hyper violent, but it is a really good story too.
Okay.
But anyway, so this one is about some painters. We are headed back to some earlier time period. Let's see. 1909, I guess they have a year on this. A guy named Will, and it is in the city of Arkham, which is our H.P. Lovecraft tip-off there. And he basically is at like this sketching session in one of his classes, and there's some contest coming up for the best artwork, and this new student shows up one day who was invited to sketch with them, Richard Pickman. And Pickman, played by Crispin Glover, P.S., of Back to the Future fame. And he draws the model, but in a totally different way than the rest of the students do. Very dark and very like moody with the lines and the way they're portrayed, and it's very kind of demonic looking as well. And then we kind of get a time jump in this episode, which I think might be the only one that has a time jump. Yeah, there's one more here coming up. But I was a little confused by that because I wasn't sure that I didn't look at the screen at the right moment or what, but it almost felt like when I was watching this one, for some reason, I thought he was imagining the next part. Like he was having a glimpse of the future, but then it just kept going. And I was like, they're sure keeping this dream in a dream up for a long time here. So I guess this is the actual thing. So, and I think it was because, you know what it was? It was because his girlfriend in the episode, when he started to see like this lady in black behind people at the party that they were having on the grass, there was like this kind of shimmering black figure of a lady behind some of the people, and he kept getting freaked out, and she thought he was drinking and all this stuff. And then like she's like, get out of here, I don't want to see you anymore. And then it jumps forward to where she and he have a son, and I was like, oh, that's why I was, because I was like, oh, he's wishing that like she hadn't left him and this was like the life he had. But apparently they just don't explain that, and he actually is back with her, and they actually do have a kid. So I didn't fully get that part, but or maybe he is still trapped in a moment. We'll get to that later on here. But anyway, so we have later on Pickman, who is a successful artist, visiting Will and his wife and their son. And this is where we start to see that Pickman's work really has some abilities that can influence other people, including Will, our main guy here. Pickman basically invites Will back to his house to see all of his paintings, and he does. And a little confrontation takes place in this one where Will basically lights all of the paintings that the guy had in his house on fire, shoots Pickman by accident, because that's the thing that happens. And then Pickman says that he didn't draw things from his imagination, but he drew things that were real and also from the future. And I mean, that's even kind of creepier when he says that. And then a demon actually shows up from like this weird well type thing that was in the middle of the room, and grabs Pickman's body and pulls it back down into the depths of hell, essentially. So this is our friend Matt Hudson's living room, apparently, where he has Well Girl inside under his floorboards. And then Will goes back to work and finds out that Pickman's paintings are all over the museum, completely undamaged, even though he had burned them all himself. And even worse, he finds out that his son and wife have both viewed the paintings. He sends them home and has the paintings ordered to be destroyed again. And then when he gets home again, he finds out that the paintings have driven his wife mad. And we get our damn moment of this episode when she finally turns around. And man, she was chopping vegetables for a long time on that counter having a conversation. And I was like, oh, they're dragging this out a long time. So she's going to turn around finally. And she finally does. And we find out that she has gouged out her own eyes. And then she makes some comment about dinner basically being like almost ready or something like that. And he picks up very quickly, like, where's our son at? And opens up the oven, and the son's head is in the oven, as exactly was shown in one of the paintings earlier in the episode. But he wouldn't have known it was his son's head at that point. Holy cow. This one's messed up, man. Oh,
Yeah, this is one I didn't get a chance to go back and skim through and review it. I did remember a lot, like the drawings and the paintings and things were like very creepy looking and disturbing.
yeah.
And yeah, that ending, I actually had not remembered that, but when you said that, I was like, oh God, that's right. That's why I don't remember it, because I didn't want to remember that.
He blocked it out.
Oh man, so uh yeah, from what I remember, I just have like I didn't remember a lot of like events, but I remembered just the kind of a bit of a sense it gave me. And it seemed like another kind of like slower building one. For sure. It had some creepy imagery,
Yep.
but not necessarily a big creepy vibe. And like really didn't have any horror until right there at the end, from what I remember.
Yeah, that's pretty much true. I mean, most of it comes in the form of like Will is seeing these visions when he looks around. He sees like black shadowy figures behind other people, and like he's seems like he's like kind of piercing the veil himself as far as what's real and what's not, but we don't know if it's in his mind or what's going on for the first part of the episode. Um, but yeah, I would kind of agree with that. It is kind of one of the slower ones. It's maybe of a slightly more psychological style of horror than outright nasty stuff until the end of the episode here. Um, it was good. It definitely had some atmosphere to it, but I kind of would agree with you. It's a little bit slower. So I gave this a 7.5 out of 10 on my end.
Okay. Um, yeah, I threw a number at it based on what I could remember. Um, and like I say, I couldn't remember a lot about it, which kind of like sticks out in my mind as, well, it probably wasn't real high on my list. So
Right.
I'm giving this one a 6.0.
6.0. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm intrigued to see what Brett rates episode number 6. This is the one randomly that I had my wife watch with me because I thought it was the last episode. This is called Dreams in the Witch House. And very 1 second into this, I was surprised to see that Rupert Grint's name came up on the opening
Ron
credits.
Weasley.
And I was like, well, this is perfect for you then. A good thing for you to join in here. It also stars DJ Qualls, but I watched the whole episode and I don't know who DJ Qualls played in this episode, I have to admit. So I might have to look that up in the background here. I don't think he was the rat thing, but I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly.
So
This was
our
another one. I'll just, right off the top.
Yeah.
This was another one I didn't get a chance to go and review again, and skim, so I don't remember a lot about it.
Well, and this one Probably, yeah, I would say probably along with the last one is, I should mention number 6 is the other short story from H.P. Lovecraft. So that's kind of interesting as well. But this one also probably has like the most abstracty type things happening in it than the other episodes do.
Okay.
So this one, just quick summary here, is the other one I referenced earlier that has a time jump, which is when they're kids. We have Walter, who is Rupert Grint's character, and his twin sister named Epperly, and she basically dies, and then he witnesses her as a ghost, and then she is kind of pulled off to some forest through the front of their house, and then like the bushes kind of open up and she's pulled down this trail, and that's kind of where he sees her last. Then in the present day, he is in 1933 is the year on this one. We have something called the Spiritualist Society, and he's a member of this organization basically because he's devoted his entire life as trying to find a way to get to the other side to try to save his sister, Epperly. Following up on some leads that he comes across, he ends up renting a room basically in the attic of this formerly executed witch's house, Keziah Mason. And also his path takes him down to somewhat of a den, not my opium den, but not too far off of it here, where he finds a drug called liquid gold, which a man says can take him to the Forest of Lost Souls. And he does go there several times on like this drug-induced trip, but he does manage to find Epperly while he's there. And eventually, it's maybe a second or third time he's there, I forget, he like gets yanked back by this big vine basically, and he rips the arm off of her dress. And when he wakes up in the palace, the den again, he has the sleeve in his hand, and so he's like, wait a second, like you can pull stuff out of this world. And so then he's definitely even more determined to bring her back. So as this is happening, we also have the ghost spirit of Keziah Mason who starts showing up in the bedroom where he's sleeping, and this really bizarrely faced rat. It's a rat with a human head, named Jenkins.
That's
and
right.
it talks, and it was trippy as all hell.
I'd forgotten that, but now I remember it.
Oh my gosh, I gotta look. I don't know if that's who this other person plays or not, but
That could be.
it could be. And then anyway, when Walter finally goes back to the Forest of Lost Souls again, he brings Epperly back with him, and they basically learned that because he brought her back, Keziah, the witch, and Jenkins were also able to come back. And so they have to kill Rupert Grint's character before dawn comes for them to stay back permanently, I guess is how the lore works in this one. And kind of weird stuff happening here. We have like a scene where earlier in the episode they were like locked in a church trying to stay away from the witch, and like she was coming in and pulling people out. And then as the semi-ghost, semi-solid Epperly is next to him, Keziah the witch comes in to try to kill Rupert Grint's character, but damn, out of nowhere, his little sister, half ethereal, half real, comes and takes like I forget, a penknife or something, and like stabs Keziah the witch like right in the face with it and kills her. And I was like, what? The little like 6-year-old girl just saved the day on this? Like out of nowhere too, like just to save her brother, but she totally bitch slaps the witch and kills the witch. So that was actually pretty cool, but unexpected.
Mm.
And then as Epperly passes, and it seems like Rupert Grint's character is going to survive. We have a couple side characters we didn't even mention in this one, but it seems like he made it to the dawn and he's going to survive. But we get this little hint off camera ish with the rat running around, and essentially the rat climbs into Rupert Grint's character's body and then bursts forth at the end of this episode and kills him right before the dawn hits. And that would normally be the end of the episode, but this one also adds a little flair of comedy, which is the other two side characters leave. They just leave Rupert Grint's body laying there, and the rat goes back into Walter's body and somehow like possesses him and starts to like walk around the room and dance a little bit or something with his new body that he has. So this one's got a lot going on. This one, like imagery wise, I think this one had the most with the like witch stuff in this other world that they go to travel to through the drug usage and things of that nature. I mean, this one's got a lot going on. Do you remember anything about this one?
Um, again, I didn't really remember events so much. I do remember that it was probably the most like emotional and like specifically that kind of sad episode. Primarily because you have the brother is like mourning over his sister the whole time, and essentially is able to get her back, but then loses her again, and then dies himself. But um yeah, I remember it being yeah, probably the least scary out of the bunch.
Mm,
um it had some spooky creepy vibes, but as far as like straight up horror, I felt like it was on the lower side.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's not a ton. There's the witch who's kind of like lurking around the bedroom in a few shots, and I think floats towards people and flies around the church a little bit. But yeah, overall, it's not that straight up horror. I did just triple check. DJ Qualls does play the rat, so that makes sense now, I guess. Um, I think wasn't DJ Qualls the gentleman who gave us the iconic quote that it's not cheating if you put peanut butter on your balls and let your dog lick it off. I think that was DJ
Yes,
Qualls.
I
So
believe so.
it's right up there
Highlight
with
of his career.
Ask Not What You Can Do For Your Country. Right up there with that. Yeah, so that's about this episode. This one actually has the lowest rating on IMDb, which is I don't know how I feel about that, but um it was fun though, like this idea of obsession and this idea of like doing what you could to save a loved one, I think is cool. Like the parallel world was kind of cool. I felt a little sad for Rupert Grint's character slash a little pathetic for him that like 20 some years had gone by and that's literally how he's still spending every day is just trying to like
Mm.
singularly bring this girl back. And even when she sees him finally, she's like, "Did you become a concert pianist in New York City?" And he's like, "I stopped playing the day you died." But anyway, so I gave this one a 7 out of 10, which maybe is a little high, but 7 out of 10 Dreams in the Witch House.
Okay. Um, yeah, I this is one that didn't stick out in my mind, so it'd be hard for me to rate it real high. But um, I do seem to remember it had like well, the scares were a little bit low. I feel like the story was pretty decent overall. It probably had one of the stronger stories out of this series.
Yeah,
Um, and so I probably would give it let's throw like a 6.0 at it.
6.0. Yeah, you're probably right. This one does have like at least lore behind what's happening in the story. I mean, most of these are basically a character in a situation,
Hmm.
and whatever happens, happens. But this is probably the first one that has like a mythology to the story and has characters with motivations. And so, yeah, you're probably right. Okay, well, this should bring us up to speed a bit more here now as Brett watched these a year later. So let's
I
check
did.
out 7 and 8. Um, I feel like I have a lot to say on these two also, but let's get into these. So episode 7 is called The Viewing. I didn't know what this was going to be about, again, based on the name. My first thought was like a funeral, I assume, because the viewing, you know.
Hmm. Would make
So
sense.
quick summary on this one says 1979, we're up to on this one. We have a wealthy recluse by the name of Lassiter who invites an unusual group of characters to his house, his mysterious mansion that they are also kind of not allowed to see where it's at. There's a musician named Randall, an astrophysicist named Charlotte, a best-selling author named Guy, and a psychic named Targ, who have all been invited there for a special viewing, and that's all he really says. He tries to basically get them to expand their consciousness by, I think first, if I recall, he plied them with like their favorite drink, then some expensive bottle of booze from Japan. Then I think they had like marijuana and then a mix of cocaine and some experimental drug that
Yeah,
this other character, Dr. Zara, put together. I would probably let Dr. Zara make some stuff up for you. I'm just gonna put that out there. And basically, I guess is to get them on the same wavelength in that exact terminology so that they can vibe together. And I'll just do the plot first here. So then essentially they go to another secret room inside the manor where there is this bizarre rock-looking thing which reacts to their presence, their collective presence, and things get effing weirder, I should say, in this room where the meteor opens. There's an ooze that comes out of it first, and then we start to get just some weird shit going on here.
It gets crazy real quick.
It's so weird with this is there's like a noise that comes out of the alien, and then this is my damn moment of this episode is like some guests like their face starts to melt and like I think one guy's head explodes or something.
Yes.
Oh my god. It gets so weird. And then essentially the host is taken over by this ooze, which has now made itself into a really creepy looking shape. And then his like, I don't even know what you want to call the guy, chauffeur / bodyguard, like pulls this random gold gun off the wall. Like this one, I was like, this is a Man Night movie. This is amazing. And tries to shoot this. The bullets don't do anything. And oh, did I mention this new alien hybrid entity also has electric powers as well? So it just kind of like fries him and sneaks into the sewer system and pops back up. Like, I don't know if they say where it's at, but somewhere with very large like aqueducts, like LA or someplace.
Yeah, near a large city.
And meanwhile, the only other two guests who survived are like cracked out on all of these drugs and flying like 90 miles an hour, racing through the woods to safety. That's basically the plot summary of this one. But holy cow,
I think you covered it all. Yeah.
Oh my god, this is. I'll let you talk first on this one since you actually watched it semi recently.
Sure, yeah. So I mean, I'll just come out and say it. I struggled to get through this one. I actually had to watch it in three sections because the first, I don't know, it's probably like the first 45 minutes of the episode, to me were like extremely dull. Like you say, it's basically this guy just invites people over to his house, and then they just have like small talk for half an hour.
You're not wrong.
They're taking drugs and having small talk and not even talking about really anything interesting. And the first time I watched it, I got like through like 20 minutes or something. I'm like, what is? And then so I stopped it and I came back and watched some more. And then I watched like another 20 minutes. I'm like, this isn't going anywhere. What the hell is going on? And then I finally was like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and watch the end of this. And holy crap, the ending of that was something else. I have no idea if the small talk portion was supposed to be like building up tension, but it really wasn't for me, at least. It was just awkward and weird, and it's like, what is the point of all this? And yeah, then you get that if it's I guess an alien, it kind of made it sound like it came down out of the sky like a meteorite or something.
Yeah, I guess.
And yeah, that alien whatever comes out and like starts melting faces with radiation or something. Oh man, it gets gory real quick, and it gets like weirdly kind of psychedelic, and yeah, it is just a crazy ending.
Oh my gosh. This one, so I watched this one last night, and it wasn't late, but it was probably like I probably didn't get started until like 9:30, and I was pretty dang tired already. So I don't know if this one hit me in like the right loopy mood, but like I loved everything about this episode. It started off and like they all kind of, if they don't outright tell you, they at least kind of hint towards when it's supposed to take place. And it's like pretty much they're like, this is the 70s. And I was like, hell yeah, it is. And we got like this crazy lady who's like an astrophysicist who's also like a fast speed car driver in the beginning of all of this. And then, of course, at the end, that loops back around with her driving through the woods, also. But then they get to like the house, and I was like, "Oh man, this is like right up my alley." There's some mysterious stranger who invited these four people to go to his
Mm-hmm.
house. This is gonna be so cool. And then they like walk in, and before they even get there, you see like a scene of the Dr. Zara lady like shooting up the host with something. I don't know what. And he doesn't either because he's like, just pick one, whatever one you think I'll enjoy the most tonight. And I was like, what is happening in this? And this one, more than the rest of them, had like they put a lot of effort into like the presentation of it. So it was like kind of like how when you watch Stranger Things and it feels like it's from the 80s. Like this
Mm,
one made me feel like I was really watching something from the 70s. Like it was
for sure.
grainier at
Yeah.
points, and the sound was super wacky and the music was off in some spots. So I loved all of that. Like it really reminded me of something that like we would have watched at Justin's house when we were far too young, and somebody's parent had rented this for us, not knowing exactly what it was. And there probably would have been more boobs in that version of this, but this was like hardcore drug usage of every possible way. And like then you have crazy aliens at the end and people dying horrific deaths at the end. And it was pretty funny. So yeah, I could see what you're saying though with the like slow burn of like trying to get into it, because I think I was so tired last night. Like I felt like I was going through the trip with them, I think.
Maybe
I was
that's
all
me.
I was all by myself in the living room and I was like, what is happening? And like they have that like that like kind of 70s-ish music through a lot of this. It wasn't until like the end when he actually played a song that I was like, oh, that's a real song right there. Like that one's a real 70s song. I don't know what the rest of the stuff is they're playing, but oh my gosh.
It should have like a note at the beginning of the episode that you have to either watch this episode on like sleep deprivation or you have to like take the drugs that they're taking right along with them.
Probably true. Yes, that's definitely probably true. Yeah, because most of the music in this one was like kind of reminded me of like the records you could play in Killer Frequency. Like, I don't know what they were. They probably didn't even have a name, but there was some kind of music playing somewhere. And then yeah, once it got all crazy at the end, I was like, oh man, I was really torn on this one because this was like one of the few that I think it did end in like a fun spot for the 1 hour episode to be over. But I was like, if they had like taken this another 30 or 45 minutes, it might have been really interesting to see like that monster unleashed on the city, and then maybe have like those two surviving characters like circle back to like go into the city to try to hunt this thing. Or that could have been really interesting because it's really, I mean, this one kind of felt like a horror movie in many ways to me, but most of them don't have that really long intro with the character burn like you're talking about. That's for sure.
Mm, mm.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. This one was this one was super fun to me, but I could see with you saying that how this might not be received well by everybody. But it's
Well, I
just
think
like the house is so like it's this 70s palatial estate with like the gates that open in the middle and like light beam shines out, and then they go in and like they're in this room with like one of the 70s love pits where they're like sitting below the floor level in this big circle. Oh my god.
I think this guy could have been like a Bond villain that would have like spiced things up.
Yeah.
But he didn't really, he just was like this weird collector guy. And like they made allusions to these other characters like being like hand chosen, like being there for a reason. But then they didn't,
Mm.
unless I missed it, I don't think they didn't like give any reason why any of them were there at any point. They didn't like bring up like, oh, this is a part of your backstory that, you know, makes you like special or chosen or something. Or there was like none of that. It was just like, okay, they're here, but why?
Yeah, it was kind of weird. Like, it's not really explained well because the host presumably has seen this object before in his house, and like it didn't unlock for him, so he was trying to get them all on the wavelength, he said. But like
Mm,
the astrophysicist girl studied extraterrestrial life, and if it's a meteorite, I guess that makes sense. But then like the musician and the author basically, like, I don't know, like the host seemed like he was trying to inspire them to like do some new work based on this revelatory experience they were about to have. And then the psychic dude, like, I'm not really sure what, like, he didn't really fit in either. So I could definitely see what you're saying there. Didn't quite make sense. Could have used a little more Dr. Zara though, but that's neither here nor there. Um, yeah, well, let's see. You want to go first on this one for rating?
sure, I could do that. Um, I would like the first 45 minutes of this, I would probably give like a 3, but I would probably give like the last 15 minutes are like a good solid 9 plus.
Ooh.
So um that evens out to like a 6. Maybe, or like a maybe like a 5.5. I don't know, because that first part was real rough.
5.5.
Yeah, let's settle on that.
All right. 5.5. Okay, I'm gonna downgrade my rating here. I'm gonna give this a 9.5 out of 10. I actually had this at a perfect 10. I
Oh
enjoyed it
wow.
so much. I was like, this is like it was. I mean, literally, we could get super tired at a man weekend and throw that on if nobody else has seen it, and they'd be like, "What are we watching right now?" And if they could suffer through the 40
Absolutely.
minutes just to get to that last part, oh my gosh, that was something. The viewing, yeah. All right, we got one left here. So last episode is called The Murmuring. Again, by its title, I wasn't sure what this was going to be about. I did not know how it's used in this episode is actually called that, apparently. So I assumed it was like somebody just like murmuring. That was not the case at all.
Yeah, we didn't really get any of that.
No, not so much. But this is, as mentioned earlier, the second one based on a short story by Del Toro himself. Um, this takes place in 1951. We have a husband-wife team who are ornithologists studying birds, to which right away I was like, oh, this sounds exciting. Killer bird, or what's going to be the angle here? And essentially they go to a very remote place to try to continue their studies of birds, and they have had a daughter die. Daughter has passed away. I don't know. Did you get a good sense of how old the daughter was?
Uh no. I mean, it seemed to be very young, but
Yeah.
I don't think they ever gave like even a really range of it. It was, I would say like 2.
Yeah.
I just
Okay.
gotta throw a number at it.
We'll come back to that in a second here. While they're there studying birds, the wife, Nancy, starts to see ghostly spirits basically in the house of a crying boy and an angry woman. But we definitely get a few different ages for the boy in the episode too. There's a
Mm,
baby and then
yep.
older and maybe even a couple like adolescent ages. Um, this is a very jumping ahead summary of the plot here essentially, but this is again another episode where like not much happens. Like it's really building tension for a long time.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, but essentially, we find out here that the husband, who took me like halfway into the episode to realize this was Andrew Lincoln from The Walking Dead, because he looks all gray, and I was like, "What is going on here?" Um, but basically, we find out the people who lived in the house that they were staying in, the mom drowned her son because he was born basically out of wedlock for this guy that she was in love with, and never left his wife for her. And then
Mhm.
she committed suicide herself. So she has like a pretty long series of things that she sees in the house, while Andrew Lincoln is basically like, birds, 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 Carl, birds, as he's going through looking at all that stuff. But she's hearing like crap on tape recordings and like seeing images and like waking up stuff moving and like
Mhm.
it really her plot reminded me a lot of The Conjuring, which we just watched before Halloween, where it's like it's a slow
Yeah,
burn in like a haunted house, and I was like,
it's a
yeah,
pretty fair comparison.
yeah. And then kind of the wife, long story short here, basically coaxes the boy ghost out and tells him that she'll hold his hand and to run into the light, and he disappears. And then he's presumably finally moved on after all this time. And then up in the attic, she sees the mom ghost throw herself off the balcony. And that's basically the plot of this. At the end of it, the birds swarm the wife. And apparently the like patterns, the swallows or whatever the hell they were, dunnets or something they were called in this. That's called a murmuration. Those are the murmurs they're talking about when the birds make the patterns as they fly, all crazy without ever hitting each other. Um, and then finally she breaks down and melts. She's not the ice queen anymore, and she's gonna go back to her husband here, Andrew Lincoln, and tell him that she slept with his best friend while he was in a coma.
Wrong series.
Oh, that's the wrong series. Yep. Okay,
Yeah.
never mind.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's that, and they talk over the radio as this is all going on. So, well, not the whole thing, but the ending part.
Yeah.
So,
Uh, yeah. This one. I think the only thing, the little bit of information there that you didn't cover was that they
mm,
essentially, like, from the passing of their daughter, she's been like completely emotionally dead,
yeah,
and like the husband is, continuously trying to help her out of this and, like, you know bring some life back to her life, and like they're basically on the verge of like divorce because, like, it's just not working out, and she's they can't, they're just not doing well together. um and then by basically setting this spirit free, she kind of sets herself free as well.
yeah.
So
Well put.
uh I yeah, this one was pretty slow building.
Mm-hmm.
We do get, once they get into the house, and you start getting some spooky things building up, some noises, and some things moving, and then eventually start seeing the spirits. So it does build up this paranormal story. um I did enjoy that, and the story, it actually did have a good story behind it as well.
Mm-hmm.
The interactions between the husband and the wife were um uh hard to watch because it's just basically they're just fighting with each other a lot of the time, um and just not able to connect again. But also is, a good dramatic story. They
Yeah.
actually, it was pretty well written. I I it was trying to think. There were some decent scares in this one. Some like ghosts jumping out at her and things like that,
Yeah.
and just general creepiness. It was probably on the lower side overall. But again, this was one where the story helped make up for it and made it overall was a good, well written episode. So um I enjoyed it for the most part. It was moving at the end. And yeah, I think actually that scene where she, like I say, just coaxes the boy out into the light. Actually, basically helps him move on. Really was pretty touching. So that was it was
Yeah.
a really big moment of the episode. Um, I can just go ahead and throw my rating out here. I probably would give this one a 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. Okay, yep. That's good. Um, yeah, I don't know what I guess I have a few things to say on this one. Yeah, like I said, I wasn't sure how old their kid was when they passed. Like at first I assumed it was like she had a miscarriage, but I think I took that as like that's why she was not wanting to like have sex with the guy earlier in the episode, was it was like memories of that. But then like
Right.
the more they
Yeah.
talked, I was like, well, maybe their kid was a little bit older. So I don't know that it matters, I guess, for the story, but I wasn't sure on how old the kid was supposed to be. But I definitely agree with you on this one. Like the story in this one was pretty cool, in terms of just like being well developed. And a lot of times ghost stories are fun, but they definitely like sink another level to resonate with you if there's like a deeper story that's hitting, kind of the parallel story or whatever you want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And so her, of course, having to deal with the mom and the kid in this one, and what happened with the ghost mom and the ghost kid, that was kind of deep. But yeah, I just put I don't know, I put a note on this one. I just said what a deep episode, and then I just I guess posed the question to everybody here, you or people listening, is just kind of like this idea of like which ghosts are actually worse, like ones that we would find in a haunted house or ones from our own past that we've lived through. Like it's kind of a tough thing for her. It was probably the latter. Like I was like, I don't know why you're getting out of bed to go check what's making that noise. I'd stay in bed if I were you, but but she was dealing with something even bigger than that, I think. So,
Mm.
but it definitely made the plot good. Unfortunately, didn't leave a lot of room for like chemistry and like forward plot development between the husband and the wife because of the nature of that. But looks like I just wrote damn on this episode and I never awarded a damn moment here. So I guess I don't know. Maybe it might have been that moment where she was in the hallway and the kid was at the end of the hall and the kid like spun around and he had like the
Oh yeah, like
puffy, yucky face.
his face was like all cut up or something.
Like he had, yeah, it was like all nasty looking, like, which I did write down a couple questions with that, which is like, number one, how come in every movie ghosts always stand with their back to you? What's up with that? They never look at you face to face. Why is that? That's kind of weird. Just so they can do that turn scare, you know?
It's really rude.
It's kind of weird. Like, did that kid see a ghost when he was younger? Did he watch movies where there were ghosts? How would he know to stand with his back to this person to maximize the jump effect? It's just questions I have.
The handbook for the recently deceased.
Yeah, right? There you go. Good call back to the beginning of the episode. Or then, like, all right, so here's this boy who, like, she sees as a normal boy, and then also as, like, dead, bloated, cut up boy, and then also as baby and the bed boy. Like, make up your mind. Which age of yourself are you projecting as a ghost here? Like, how does that work? You don't get to be all three. I don't know. But I did think this one was really good with just the story with the husband and the wife and everything that was going on. And I liked how, of course, nobody believed her, but even the like caretaker was like, it was 30 years ago. Why does it matter? So this one was good. I'd probably give this on the higher end, maybe like a 9 out of 10, I would say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I really liked this one. I thought emotionally it just hit really deep when she really cracked at the end and everything that was going on between the husband and the wife. And I think they're going to make it.
Yeah.
Wasn't so
I think
sure.
I would have enjoyed it a lot more if there was less birds, I think.
Are you afraid of birds?
Uh no. Why would you ask? No.
No reason. If I got a
Uh
movie for you.
I think even if they had done like, I don't know, there was a lot of time spent just like with them looking at birds where like nothing, like it didn't develop anything. Like, if they had done something like somehow creepy with the birds, would have been interesting, or like some like little spooky moments. But it literally was just like watching a bird documentary at
Well, that
points.
is a good
So
point because they made this huge deal when they found the birds in the attic of like, why would the birds be in the house? That's not how they sit or whatever. And I was like,
Mm,
ooh, there's gonna be something really spooky up there. Which I guess
right.
we did find out at the end, like the mom jumped from the attic. So there is that,
Mm,
but then like why wouldn't they have been like over at the window where she jumped out of instead of like the
true.
hole? Or I thought there was gonna be like some big creepy bird, or what I really thought was gonna happen,
Right.
because the episode was called The Murmuring, and they made a big deal out of telling us the viewer like that's what it's called when they make these patterns as they fly. Like I assumed their patterns were going to start to form like ghostly images or something in the sky.
Sure. Yeah.
Nope,
Yeah.
that didn't happen either.
Nope.
So maybe nine's even generous, but
Or like the birds themselves, like literally were murmuring and like made this woman go crazy or something.
right.
That would have been a fun twist.
Which, P.S., how did she record the ghost noises? But then when she played them back, there was no recorded ghost noises for the husband to listen to. Because that didn't seem like it was her mind. She recorded it and like re-listened to it a few times.
That's true. Yeah. I don't know.
So
It's an it's a question that I can't really answer, I guess.
he heard everything and saw everything. He was just pretending to be asleep and was trying to make her go crazy. But anyway, all right. Well, let's wrap up our summary here with all of this. Yeah, I don't know. I can go first in this one. Just I really enjoyed the series. I'm happy I finally sat down and watched it, even if it was a year later. I liked the variety between the episodes. I liked seeing who was like the famous actor, if there was one, in the episodes as they went through. The plot variety is pretty high in this, which I thought was really nice. I mean, very, very little overlap from episode to episode. Um, and the different time settings was really fun too, just to see them like try to portray like the 1800s or the 1970s or the early 1900s or whatever. That was pretty cool. I guess I didn't even know that two of these were written by Del Toro himself until researching for this. I was curious,
Mm,
but I thought he was going to say he was the director on the last one. That's what I was waiting for. And then when he said somebody else's name again, I was like, oh, so he didn't direct any of these,
right.
but he did write two of them. So that's kind of interesting. But I enjoyed a lot about this. A lot of fun. A couple of them had a little bit of humor in it. It's definitely a fun anthology that I would say if you like spooky things, you're going to enjoy this as well. So all things together, I probably put this somewhere just shy of 8, maybe like a 7.9 out of 10.
Mm, okay. Yeah, for me, I like that it is the anthology kind of setup. It's a really cool thing because you get so much variety in what you're seeing, and it doesn't feel stale. Um, and but it does leave it a little bit kind of uneven at points, I think. Because even like just in our own personal ratings here, we had episodes, like you liked one and I didn't like one, and then I liked one and you didn't like one, and it basically
Sure.
was just like theming, really, as much as anything else.
Hmm.
And so I think that's just a natural kind of a side effect of that kind of setup is you're going to have some episodes that you like and some that you don't. Which in other series you don't really get that because they're all basically the same kind of thing over and over. But and I liked the payoff. I would say the payoff in every episode was really good. I would
Hmm.
I think I could definitely say that the problem was that some of them took too long to build up, or there just wasn't enough substance there to keep you, engaged necessarily. Um, it probably I would say that's the biggest negative I had just on the series in general is just some of them felt too slow building up. But overall, I enjoyed most of these episodes, and pretty much all of them I could, there's something I could point to in the episode that was, a reason to watch it. And yeah, it just overall just kind of spooky, weird, creepy vibes. and everything, and that's the kind of thing that I enjoy. So, uh, yeah, I don't know that. Yeah, I would definitely I would recommend it to someone who is looking for another thing that they want some kind of spooky thing to watch. So
Yeah. Did you put a number on that?
um
You don't have to, but I'm just curious.
yeah, I mean I probably would say like overall um yeah, like a 7, I think
Yeah.
overall, probably.
Okay. Sounds good. So this is another spooky series. If you're intrigued by this one, this is on Netflix. It's been on there for a while. I believe it's Netflix original, so I think it'll be on there probably till
Yeah,
forever.
I'm guessing.
Or till they have to pay royalties to somebody, and then they license the show and then put it on there. So all right, sweet. Well, a little bonus episode there, and I think we're headed back to TV again next week if the schedule stays the way I think it's gonna stay here for another episode coming up. Real quick here to finish up our episode. We didn't get a chance to because we had recorded our Halloween episode earlier in the month, so that there would be less chaos around Halloween weekend there, but one of our co-hosts, Joe, recently underwent some surgery and pulled through that okay. So shout out to Joe. Unfortunately, he has the same shitty opinion about episode 8 as he did before the surgery. But knowing that he was out for a while, we're going to end tonight's episode by giving Brett 20 seconds to tell Joe what he missed in the world while he was under the knife. So I'll let you brainstorm that for a second, Brett. And then we will kick off here with the end of our show. So 20 seconds, Brett. Would you tell Joe what he missed while he was having surgery done?
Well, Joe, I don't know if you heard this, but actually, Trump was never our president. And we actually, oh, wait, no, that's not true. He was reelected again. Wait, I got that wrong. We are in a currently a hell state and trying to dig ourselves out of it. Come
Oh
back to
boy.
us and help us out of this now.
But Brett, what happens if they found some unspeakable object inside of Joe while they were performing surgery?
Well, that's the best part. It might be Trump's kryptonite.
Ooh,
So go ahead and throw that at him as quickly as you can and see what
like
happens.
maybe it's a good idea. Oh, there it is. All right, everybody. That has been it for us here at Friends Occasionally Not Disagreeing. This has been Brett and Cody. We will see you later. Take care.
See you guys.